Here are the 9 things that you need to know to survive living in Gig Harbor, Washington. Hey everybody, my name is Darren Rivers. I am the Northwest Realtor and welcome to Living in Gig Harbor, Washington. Hey, if you're new to this channel, why don't you hit that little bell so you can get notified anytime I send out a video. You can subscribe to my channel. Man, I'm gonna put all my information right here. So give me a call, send me a text, send me an email, put a comment in the comment section of this video, whatever you need to reach out to me to get any questions answered you have about this video or any of my other ones. And today we are going to talk about 9 things that you need to know to survive living in Gig Harbor. Now I say this is a list of things you need to know how to survive Gig Harbor. Well, surviving Gig Harbor is pretty easy. This is a pretty nice area. But number 1, and this might actually be number 1, is the housing cost. So it's expensive to live here. The average price for a home in 2022 in Gig Harbor was $803,000. By comparison, the national average is $428,000. So we're almost double what the national average is for a cost of a home. Now, it's really nice. It really is. The homes are really taken care of. It's a nice community. It's just lovely. It's desired. That's why it's expensive. Keep in mind one more thing about the housing costs here is we actually do just make a little bit more money here than most other parts of the country. So here's an example. The average household income nationwide is $87,000. The average household income in Gig Harbor, Washington is $117,000. Now, is that enough to make up the difference between a $428,000 house and an $803,000 house? I don't know. But people do tend to make a little bit more money in this neck of the woods. Number 2 on this list for things that you need to know to survive living in Gig Harbor, Washington is knowing about the neighborhoods. And this is really easy, okay? For the most part, Gig Harbor is really nice. It doesn't matter if you're in the north end of Gig Harbor or the south end or Uptown or Fox Island or Woolachit or Artendale. Most of them are, you just kind of flow from one to the other and there's no real difference in the demographic, there's no real difference in the values. It's all just pretty nice. Now there is a part of Gig Harbor that is a little more suspect. And it's not even Gig Harbor proper, but it has a mailing address of Gig Harbor, and that's over the Pretty Bridge. You start going over to the Key Peninsula, it kind of used to have a reputation of sort of the mobile meth labs, the RVs out there in the big open fields cooking whatever they may have been cooking. It's a little more like that. It's a little more rough. You might see some homes with, more than 2 or 3 cars on the front lawn. That kind of thing does sort of happen. It's out over the Pretty Bridge, over on the Key Peninsula, out of town, so to speak. But it's still kind of considered Gig Harbor. So just keep an eye on those if you're looking in this area. And of course, it's gonna be more affordable out there, right? That's just how the market works. But for the most part, man, I'm telling you, the neighborhoods that you're in, there's no real distinction from one to the other. They're all pretty good. Number 3. The third thing that you need to know about surviving living in Gig Harbor, Washington is knowing about the crime. And this one, I get questions a lot, especially people maybe like you that are moving from somewhere else, want to know how safe it is here in Gig Harbor. And really the answer is it's really safe, but if you look online, those numbers are a little skewed. Gig Harbor only has a C+ rating when it comes to crime. It's ranked in the top 48%. So that means 52% of the cities in the nation are less safe, but 48% are supposedly more safe. But here is why. And again, I'm gonna put this map up here. This is from crimegrade.org. So that map should be up on your screen. And if you look at it, all the green areas is considered really safe. The red is the bad area. Well, that one red area on the map, that is right at a park where they tend to get cars broken into, cars stolen, and just some vandalism because people are parking their cars and then they're going out on trails or going up to the soccer fields to watch their kids, and that's just kind of where the car predators hang out. It's just in that little area. So statistically, there's a lot of car crime in that one spot, which kind of skews the whole thing. But as far as safety at home and all that sort of stuff, man, it's a pretty darn nice area to live. Number 4, the number 4 thing that you need to know to live in Gig Harbor, Washington, or survive Gig Harbor, Washington, is knowing about the schools. If you got a family and you're sending your kids to public school, you should know what kind of schools they're going to. Well, guess what? Gig Harbor's pretty darn good. It's actually got a B+ rating. The only reason, from my information, that I couldn't find out why it's not an A- is some of the facilities are a little bit older. You can go to niche.com and look all this stuff up for yourself, but it has a B+ rating. There are 18 public schools in Gig Harbor with about 8,000 students, and they are ranked 9 out of 10 in their test scores from everywhere across the country. So yeah, Gig Harbor School District, it's actually really good. The only neighboring town that's better than us is across the Tacoma Narrows Bridge in the University Place. They actually do have an A- rating, but we're right there with them. Number 5. Number 5 on this list of things that you should know about Gig Harbor, Washington is the outdoor activities. Man, if you're gonna live in Gig Harbor, Washington, you should thrive in the outdoors. You should take advantage of everything that it has to offer. So a couple things to note. We have this thing called the Cushman Trail. This is a paved trail that goes all the way from like where Home Depot is on Burnham Drive, all the way across the Narrows Bridge, almost to I-5. It is a paved trail with no traffic, lots of runners, lots of road bikes, cruises right along Highway 16. It's several miles long. It's a great, safe place to go ride your bike or go for a run where you're not going to get hit by a car. There's a couple spots where it shares the road for a couple hundred yards here or there, but for the most part, you are on your own. If you are a trail runner, there's plenty of places like that here in Gig Harbor too. There's something that we call the jail trail. So Gig Harbor has a women's prison, and near the prison are all these trails in the woods that they're all pretty well manicured, but they're definitely trails. They're not paved or anything like that. So it's great to go on a hike with your dog or go for a trail run. And we call them the jail trails because they're right next to the prison. If you want to go for a mountain bike ride, there's a place called 360 Park. It's over the Purdy Bridge. And it's just a couple miles down the road there, but it is all maintained mountain biking trails. They have one of those built tracks, if you will, where there's jumps and obstacles, and then there's just the normal trails where you can go do, cross-country mountain biking. Of course, people are out there hiking as well with their dogs. And if you want to go just a couple miles up the road to the north, up into Banner Forest, it's a much bigger geographic area. You can take your horses out there even, but a lot of mountain biking and hiking going on there as well. If you want to water ski, you can do that right here in Gig Harbor as well. There's Crescent Lake with a public boat launch. You can also go up into Olalla, which is just a few miles north, near where that Banner Forest is. And they have Long Lake there, another public launch, lots of water ski in there. And then people water ski out in Horsehead Bay and Woodlotchet Bay out in the saltwater, but a lot of water skiing going on there too. Gig Harbor's just got such a great outdoor geographic area with all sorts of bays and inlets. So the marine activities are great. There's marinas everywhere. The boating activities, diving, kayaking, paddleboarding, there's ample opportunity for it. It's a great outdoor mecca, and if you're coming here, take advantage of it. Number 6 on the things that you need to know to survive living in Gig Harbor, Washington, is we don't have any untraditional stores here. So if you happen to be a cannabis user, partake in the marijuana for whatever reason, there's no stores in Gig Harbor for that. You either have to go outside of, kind of pretty far outside the city limits. You can go over the Tacoma Narrows Bridge into Tacoma. Tacoma's got 15 pot shops. So it's not too far away, but you will not find one in Gig Harbor. Number 7 on the things that you need to know to survive living in Gig Harbor, Washington, and that's not an appropriate word because I was going to get into the homeless problem, which is pretty rampant in a lot of areas in the country, especially the big cities. But guess what? We don't have it here. Gig Harbor just doesn't have it. Every once in a while, really close to the Tacoma Narrows Bridge, you'll find somebody sitting on the side of the road with one of those signs asking for money or food or what have you, once in a while. But there are like no tent cities. I've never seen a homeless person sleeping on the side of the street or on the sidewalk or in a park for that matter. I just haven't seen it. I don't know if the cops are picking them up and driving them to Tacoma. I've heard of that happening in other parts of the country. I have no idea. But homelessness is not a problem here in Gig Harbor. Thank God, because it is a big problem in other places. And gosh, what's the solution? If somebody had an easy solution, they would have implemented it by now, right? Number 8 on the things that you should know to survive living in Gig Harbor, Washington, and this one you should probably know because this might be a survival thing, is the traffic, okay? So let me give you a little history. Back in like 2004, 2005, they started building a second Tacoma Narrows Bridge because the traffic was horrendous. It was awful to get to Tacoma rush hour or to get back into Gig Harbor at the end of the workday. I mean, it was really, really bad. So they built a second bridge. Man, it alleviated the problems. There was no traffic at all. It was fantastic. Fast forward 15 years, people started realizing how great it is to live here in Gig Harbor, so everybody started moving out here and new construction was just popping up everywhere, thousands and thousands of new homes. And the traffic has kind of gotten a little worse, and the city planners have tried to alleviate it. We are the roundabout kings. I swear to God, we have more roundabouts than any place I've ever seen in my life. There's roundabouts everywhere. But once you learn them, they seem to work pretty well. But the traffic's kind of coming back, and the bridge is fine, but now I find it when you come back into Gig Harbor from Tacoma around the rush hour, afternoon hours, you start hitting traffic on Highway 16. Now, you don't sit there for 40 minutes or anything, but it slows you down 10 minutes here, 8 minutes here, 15 minutes on a bad day. Kind of curious what's coming. Point Fosdick and Olympic, that intersection is the worst intersection known to mankind. Traffic is awful. There's just way too many cars for the size of the intersection, and I don't know how they would expand it. So traffic's kind of an issue. It is in a lot of places, and it's becoming more of an issue here too, and we don't really have much public transit to help. The 9th thing that you need to know to survive Gig Harbor, Washington is knowing about the weather. So we get a bad rap here in Washington, especially Western Washington, for the weather, and that it's always raining, right? That's all you hear. Does it really rain there every day? Well, let me put this in perspective for you, okay? We rain. We do. We get about 40 inches a year average in rainfall, 40 inches. So let's put that in perspective. You know who else gets 40 inches a year in rainfall every year? Dallas. You know who else does? Chicago. And get this, New York City gets 43 inches a year of rain, and Boston gets 46 inches of rain a year. Miami gets 62 inches. So it rains a lot more in a lot other part of the countries than it does in Western Washington. Now, Gig Harbor, the whole Western Washington, from October to May, are we gray? Yep. Is it kind of drizzly? Yep. Are the roads kind of always wet? Yeah, that's true. We just don't get the big downpours. It doesn't really impact life, but it is gray a lot. So just be prepared. October, March, April, yep, it's gray for sure. I'm gonna do a big but here to what we just talked about with the weather because I wanna stress a couple things. First, we're really mild. In the winter, our average temperatures high is mid 40s and our lows are mid 30s. Now, of course, we get snow once in a while. Of course, there's variations one way or the other, but those are the averages. So it's really mild. You compare that to other parts of the country, especially the Northeast or central part of the country. Oh my God, they get cold, and it's pretty nice. You just wear a sweatshirt outside. You know, that's about it. And but number 2 to this whole surviving the weather thing is our summers are the best summers on earth. They are spectacular. It hardly ever rains. It's mid 70s to low 80s every day, cools down to upper 50s at night. It is beautiful. Long days because we're pretty far north, obviously. Really not much humidity. You compare us to the East Coast, we are as dry as can be. Now, we're not as dry as the desert, of course. I grew up in Southern California. I think it's a little humid here because average humidity in the summer is 56%. Southern California, it's 12 20% or something like that. So it's humid for me, but if you're coming from the East Coast where it's 70%, 80% humidity in the summer and you come here, it's not a thing at all. The summers are the best. I'm talking the best. It is beautiful. There is no place on earth better than Gig Harbor, Washington in the summer months. There you have it, folks. Those are the 9 things that you should know to survive living in Gig Harbor, Washington. And I know some of those things weren't much of a survival, but some of them are. Housing costs, weather perceptions, especially traffic. Those are things you should know to survive. Anyway, again, all my information's right here. I am Darren Rivers. I am the Northwest Realtor. This is Living in Gig Harbor. Share this with somebody. Give me a thumbs up if you like it, and I will see you on the next video.